Welcome to Cecil TV. You're watching 30 at 6, our weekly visit with newsmakers and people from around Cecil County. I'd like to welcome our hosts, Allison Donnelly and Rob Churnside. And there they are in their little...
Happy Earth Day early.
In their rectangle.
Happy early birthday. It's tomorrow.
Yeah.
And let's get to some items. The cases of coronavirus in the county, it's up to 139. There was a third death. A woman, 70 years old, with underlying health conditions, as reported by the health department. There was a horrendous fire in Hollingsworth Manor. House destroyed. Lots of damage. The interesting thing is the fire marshal has said the cause was unattended cooking. And the fire marshal added that there's been an uptick in fires of this type, mostly due, in his opinion, I guess, to people staying at home. So I guess more
people not used to cooking.
More hanging around, more cooking, and so forth. Maybe more people cooking that don't usually cook. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I guess the lesson is be careful. It's so easy to make a mistake with the stove. Yeah. I've done it myself. Next thing of interest, the Maryland Department of Natural Resources has produced an interactive map, a map that of farmers markets and seafood places where you can buy seafood, but sort of direct
sales.
Direct sales, and we can bring up this map. Let's see here. Let's see. And there it is. It's pretty neat. You can click on it and get information, zoom in, zoom out, just separate it by county and so forth. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, obviously most folks are probably trying to stay close to home, but there are 4 so far, maybe there will be more, 4 right in Cecil County, and those are Flying Plow in Rising Sun, Turkey Point Vineyard in Northeast, Jade Farm in Chesapeake City, and Priapi Gardens in Cecilton. So if you are able to get out and you're looking to stock up on some local produce, those are your options right now.
And I know over in Harford County, the Bel-Air farmers market, they're taking orders from the vendors directly online. So all you have to do is come up. If you know what you want, just order it and come up and they'll have it all ready for you to go and you just pick it up.
Yeah.
Contact. Maybe these other places are doing that as well, and you could probably contact their website.
Yeah. I think the map lists website and the contact person or phone number. So yeah, that's a great resource.
So, Maryland's Attorney General, Mr. Frosh, has been busy working on on Maryland citizens' behalf. He has joined with a coalition of 22 other states' attorneys general, demanding the suspension of the rulemaking from the federal government that would have cut as many as, or I think more than, 20,000 Marylanders from SNAP benefits, otherwise known as food stamps. We reported on this subject several weeks ago. It has to do with eligibility and whether you have dependents and so forth. But I think we never quite got the number of exactly how many people would be affected in Cecil County by this. But anyway, he's also, again, with 18 other states' attorneys general. And I had read about something about this prior. 3M, which is the major manufacturer of N95 masks. I think, in fact, N95 is a trademark of 3M's. 3M was disturbed before the attorneys general got involved, that there was a lot of price gouging going on by their distributors and other people, and they were trying to use their trademark power or whatever, their control over the product's name and design, I guess, to prevent that. Now they're being seriously urged by the states to take action. So we'll see what happens. I know Minnesota, where 3M is not has not been terribly affected by the virus, but they're a big company. And why should you advertise on Cecil.tv? Because it is a totally new and unique way to reach the thousands of viewers that watch our programming. Plus, you'll be helping us grow as we expand our coverage. We have exciting plans, and your business or organization can be part of it. You will find our packages and rates to be refreshingly affordable, and we'll work with you to create a fresh and dynamic ad that says and shows what your business is about. Ask us how to get your commercial produced for free, so contact us on our website, Cecil.tv, or send an email to info@Cecil.tv. Thank you. Okay, so we're back. We're here with Dr. Jeffrey Lawson, Superintendent of Cecil County Public Schools, and we're going to ask him a few questions about what's going on. After that, we're going to bring in Josie Perry, who's Teacher of the Year, for her perspective. So, Allison, go.
Dr. Lawson, what is the current status of schooling at home? And do you have a sense of how many are participating?
Yeah, thank you, Allison. Before I go into these remarks, I just want to thank Cecil TV for giving us the opportunity to share with the community really the kinds of things we're trying to do. And, you know, finishing my second year now as superintendent, when I came on board, I really tried to have two principles to guide all of the work and all the decisions that would be made. And I found that I've really kind of stuck to that through this crisis, if you will. And that is communication and putting people first. And when I say putting people first in this instance, particularly, I mean our students. I know our students are in a place where they've never been. Our teachers are in a place they've never been. We were just having some offline conversation. Our families are certainly in a similar kind of situation. So we're trying to be sensitive to the fact that this is new for everybody. That's the first thing. The second thing is that we want to make sure we communicate with the community as much as we can about everything that's happening, whether it has to do with school dates closing, calendar changes, potential impacts it has on graduation, and everything else, grading. So there's a lot of different issues. Right now, we know schools are closed until May 15th, with the first scheduled date to be May 18th, which is a Monday. We've been out now. This is our fifth week. We are implementing what we call a continuity of learning plan, where it's designed to give students an educational experience at home. Make no mistake, this is not as good as the face-to-face contact that a teacher provides every single day. So we know that, and so that's where we are. You know, the $64,000 question is, when will we go back? And you know, people think because I'm a superintendent, I have some kind of magical insight on that. I don't, unfortunately. I wish I did. I am planning for two scenarios. I am planning for scenario A, that we do go back on May 18th. We'll be prepared to do that. And the second scenario will be that we're out for the remainder of the year. And if in fact that is the case, we'll be prepared for that as well.
Do you have any sense of, or can you give us an idea of, if the school year is closed, or the schools are closed for the remainder of the year, what would the system's plan for summer learning be?
Yeah, we're actually taking a look at that right now. And so the way our organization is structured, we have what we call a content coordinator for each of the different contents that are taught in our schools. For instance, Ms. Perry, who's with us, is a social studies teacher. Her content coordinator is Jim Zimmer. Mr. Zimmer and his colleagues are currently, what we call is we are prioritizing standards, so that standards within the curriculum must be taught. And frankly, some are more important than others. And so what we have our content coordinators doing right now is prioritizing standards, so that in the event we are not able to complete all standards this year, we're working on a plan to perhaps even push some standard instruction in to the summer, or maybe even double up and kind of push some extra standards in to the fall of next year, so that you could potentially have a 5th grade student who may have missed some essential standards at the end of their 4th grade year get exposure to those 4th grade standards early on in the 5th grade year. And I mean, so broadly speaking, that's kind of how we go at this. We do assume that there would be some sort of summer experience potential, or some kind of fall alteration in terms of an experience for a student, again, if in the event we don't come back at all.
I recall State Superintendent Karen Salmon made the point that these decisions are being made incrementally, and it sounds like CCPS is responding accordingly in the best way that you can.
Yeah, so, and one of the best things we did was, I believe it was the week of March 1st or 2nd, we issued a survey to the community, to the families, inquiring about what kind of technology do you have in the home, how many devices do you have, and basically, are you equipped in the home to support your child in an online learning platform? What we found was, I would say maybe 70% of our families were. So what we quickly did was we issued a loaner program. We loaned out just under 5,000 devices to different families around the county and different students. And that was very, very helpful in retrospect. So this has been a whole new norm for us. Dr. Tieglins, our Associate Superintendent for Education Services, the direction that I provided for her was to start to knock out these incremental chunks of 2 weeks at a time. And we are now coming into our 3rd 2-week chunk. And the curriculum reflects that. Packets are available for students who have no technology. And so, I mean, honestly, knock on wood, I think we're in a good place right now. And I really think the school system and teachers, and certainly Ms. Perry will speak to this, I think we have found a little bit of a rhythm as a school system. And families, there's some routine. And let's face it, we're animals, we're humans. We kind of like that routine and rhythm. And I think we've kind of found it. Personally, I'm ready for the rhythm to stop. I want to go back. I want to go back to work. Yeah. I like going to school. I like seeing kids. I like that whole thing. So, but anyway, yeah, we're in a pretty good spot, I think.
Yeah, I think we're all ready for normal to return.
Yes, please.
The county executive has sort of set the tone budgetarily in response to this crisis. Can you give us a general picture of how the budget request has changed in response to the outbreak?
Yeah, I think it's important. It's especially important as a learning moment for students, because what they will see when it comes to funding the school system, literally 97% of our funding comes from either county or state sources. Counties and states have to operate on a balanced budget. The federal government has the latitude, I'll call it, to create money, to create revenue. The counties and the states don't have that luxury. So I know both the county and the state are in dire straits in terms of their revenue. Let's face it, they gain their revenue through income tax, through sales tax. The property tax is a little more predictable, a little bit more static, but the sales tax and the income tax is really pounding the state of Maryland and Cecil County over the head. We fully expect right now to go into FY21 with roughly an $8 million gap, and that is a huge number. Our current operating expense is right around $200 million, with 85% of those costs being for salaries for employees. So we are in discussion with our school board right now. We have a wonderful school board in Cecil County. They're supportive, they're thoughtful, they're engaged. And we're talking with the leadership team, the superintendent's cabinet, we're with our collective bargaining associations, just about some different steps we can take to possibly close this shortfall. But again, when the school system, 85% of our expenditures are towards salaries and fixed charges in terms of healthcare and so on, when we have to reduce, the areas we can reduce are very limited.
I see. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we bring in Josie?
No, it's just that, to round out the way I started with the communication. I just would urge any of your audience, anybody that knows me well enough to know if there are issues, just reach right out to me. My email address is jalawson@ccps.org. If you email me, I'm not saying I can solve every problem that's out there, but I will certainly look into issues. And if there's a better way we can do things, we will. We've also set up an email warehouse address, if you will, and it's become very popular. It's called coronavirusquestions@ccps.org. And it's monitored a couple times every day. And as issues trickle in there, we push them out to the people who can deal with those issues. So with that, we're just trying to keep our communication open and reach out to me if there's a way you think we can do this better.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'd like to welcome Josie Perry, Teacher of the Year. As I understand, you're the 2019 Teacher of the Year?
Yes.
Does that mean that another thing we're missing is the 2020 Teacher of the Year? Is that a...
Yes, I'm not sure what's going on with that. So I'll just keep filling in as needed until that person's named.
Maybe you'll get to hang on to the title for an extra.
Maybe.
It's a heck of a way to do it.
Yeah.
So you are a social studies teacher at Rising Sun High School.
Yes.
For anyone who doesn't know you. We are very interested to know how teachers and students are adapting in different creative ways and if extracurriculars have taken a different form.
I think as far as adapting, I think the general feeling might be that it's easy to translate what we do in the classroom to an online environment, and that's not the case at all. A lot of us have had to be more creative than we would normally be in the classroom to get the kids involved. And for many of us, there was a learning curve. I was fortunate in that I've been teaching with Blackboard, which was one of our learning management systems. I've been teaching with it for, I think I'm going on my 8th or 9th year, so I was already comfortable with it. But there are other teachers that using something like Blackboard or Schoology or Google Classroom, that's all very new. So there was a learning curve, I think, for the teachers as well as for the students, because again, there's an assumption that because kids are always on their phones or their devices, they know how to easily do the online learning. And the reality is they don't. That's something that many of them are unfamiliar with. So we're on a learning curve as teachers, as well as the students, I think, are on a learning curve, because this is totally new to all of us.
So are you and other, maybe you couldn't speak for other teachers, but how often are you using, I think it's Blackboard Collaborate, the actual conferencing software? So are you using that regularly, or I guess, what does this look like?
Blackboard Collaborate would be similar to Skype, what we're using to carry out this interview. I'm using it quite a bit with my AP. I teach a course called AP Human Geography, and all of our AP courses, the tests are still on, so we still have to prepare the kids for the AP exam. Wow. So I'm using it a lot to do review with those kids so we can still have that interaction rather than just emailing work and then getting the work back. I want to give them that instant feedback. And I've also used it just to check in with kids. Say, I'm going to be on Blackboard Collaborate between 9 and 9:30. Pop in, say hi, let me know how you're doing, just as a way to check in with the kids, because that's one of the hardest parts of this whole thing, is not having that constant contact with my students.
And I sidetracked us, but how about extracurriculars? Are they going on at all?
To my knowledge, I don't know that they are. As far as I know the coaches, when we did close, the coaches were told that they could not hold practices outside. And now with the governor's multiple executive orders limiting the sizes of gatherings, I don't believe that they are. That's not to say that some chorus students haven't gotten together on FaceTime and sang together.
Yeah.
But as far as something being led by the teachers, that's not happening right now.
Yeah. And how about stresses on teachers that didn't exist before? I know, like, as you touched on this, that it might seem like teaching is an easy thing to take from the classroom to online, but I would think that it's a lot more mentally taxing because you don't have the back and forth with students and
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even today I had a review session with my AP class, and I would, if I'm teaching, if I'm in front of my kids, I can look and see if they're really understanding a particular concept or a model that we're going over. But when we're doing it online through Collaborate, if they don't have their camera on, I can't read their facial expressions.
Oh, yeah.
So even something as simple as being able to read their facial expressions, their body language, I can't do any of that without the cameras being on. But as far as stressors, for many of us that are teachers, we are also parents. And now we're not only teaching our students from our schools, but now we're also helping to teach our own children at home. I have 15-year-old twins at home, so we're managing all of their 9th grade work as well as the 12th grade work that I'm teaching with my own students. And I think there's also a lot of worry because we've spent the entire year building relationships with our students, and those relationships now obviously they can continue digitally, but it's still not the same. And it was such a sudden, we were closed and we're not even sure, for me with seniors, I'm not even sure if I will see them again before the end of the year. So just trying to maintain the relationships that we spend a lot of time building with our kids, that creates another layer of stress. I mean, teaching is a stressful job, regardless if it's online or face-to-face, but I think the uncertainty of everything adds a whole nother level to the stress that teachers are feeling right now.
Absolutely.
It's just unprecedented all around.
Yes.
All around. So we'd really like to thank you too. This has
Thank you.
been
Thank you.
enlightening and gives us an idea of what's going on going forward. So thank you very much, and we'll maybe check back in with you further down the road.
You need anything, just let us know.
Sure.
Yes.
Thanks again. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Josie.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
So
Bye.
long.
Have a good week. Stay safe and healthy.
And have a happy Earth Day.
Yeah, and
Lord
happy
willing,
Earth
the
Day.
creek don't rise. We'll see you next week.